Hello, special beings. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm feeling overly calm right now, which is a really good sign. I didn't put much thought into this transmission. I just kind of jumped on. That's how I like to roll, though. All right, so we have people still joining us. We're going to give it 1 or 2 more minutes. And evidently, this is going to be a message from the Arcturians. It has been over a month already. I thought that we were only going to work together for 30 days, but I'm really enjoying working with them. So don't fix it if it ain't broke. And I do feel like there's been a lot of positive feedback from the messages that I share from them. So that's always a good sign. Yeah, I've grown really accustomed to hearing them now. It's really cool. Like I know exactly where to tune my mind, what radio station to go to hear them. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the process of connecting with them. So we're going to begin because we do have a lot of people in the house. And thank you for that donation, Alden. I see you. I appreciate you. All right, so I did a brief video on Instagram today, but I didn't embellish upon what I wanted to share. It was a shorter video. I wanted to take this time to really go more in depth with what the Arcturians were communicating to me a few days ago, which was extremely profound. So they were sharing with me that whenever you have a core desire, something that you authentically want, something that you authentically want to bring into this material plane. And I'm talking about the desires that are unshakable, that are unmistakable. Whenever you have a desire, which can be composed of many different ingredients, and I want to give you a very simple example right now. I desire to be loved by someone who is expressive, who is communicative, who is affectionate, who wants to have an intimate connection. That's a very precise desire. And so you can mix in all these ingredients and those constitute your desire. Think of it as an overarching desire. Well, that desire dials a telephone. It's a cosmic telephone. So you're dialing in a cosmic telephone number. And they were saying that that desire would not be existent within you unless there was someone on the receiving end that had the exact same desire. Now, if you were to take a brief moment right now and, I don't know, whip up a desire out of thin air, just create a desire in your mind. I desire to travel to Bali with the love of my life, right? Just make something up. Just concoct something. And I want you to hold this desire for a minute. Think of something that's pretty specific. And just let's imagine that this desire is true for you in this now. Whatever you feel is a Bluetooth connection that is intricately linked to another being who has that exact same desire. Okay? Now, why is it that some of these desires don't actually come to pass? Well, that's very simple. Thank you for the donations, by the way. The reason why they don't come to pass is because sometimes we don't really mean it. So we can be coming from a place of lack coming from a place of loneliness, coming from a place of boredom, or maybe we're just in a season right now where we're feeling a little out of whack and we think that that's what we're desiring. And so the idea is to really reach far and wide and to genuinely and sincerely believe that this desire will come to fruition. Now, obviously, your desires are like these USB cables that you plug in from within yourself, because we don't want to go chase dust. We don't want to go on an outward path. What we want to do is work with our emotions. And so as you start to work in concert with your emotions, with your desires, with your wants from within, and you really believe it to be true, how the Arcturians explained this to me, which I absolutely loved, and I didn't talk about this on my Instagram, is that it creates almost like a wormhole in the universe. And I've been connecting with them a lot telepathically. I call my third eye, my pineal gland, my walkie-talkie. I've been communicating with them a lot. And my desire is to have physical contact. So I already have ethereal contact, but what I want is to meet them physically. And they were showing this to me, that they want it as much as I do. Because if I didn't have that desire, if that desire wasn't true, or that desire wasn't valid, or that desire didn't exist, I never would have linked to them. And there's an equivalent desire to bring that to fruition. So anything you desire is going to light up someone on the receiving end of that phone call who's also been seeking you. Right? So the idea is to fully believe in what you want. Why do you have to believe it? Because your beliefs, and this is what the Arcturian said to me this week, it's not your thoughts that create your reality. Yes and no. Yes, it is. So we don't want to discredit that quote. It is your beliefs about the thoughts you have that create your reality. That's what they said to me. It is your beliefs about the thoughts you have that create your reality. And so if you categorically believe, and absolutely without a shadow of a doubt believe, that this is going to happen, it may not happen overnight. I mean, think of the first person that traveled to Mars. That's a tall order. That's a tall order. But first you work from within, meaning you're figuring out how you're going to get there, and then you achieve the unachievable. And so there are two things that have to happen. There are two portions to this game. There is you connecting from inside, connecting all these USB cables, all these wires from within yourself. And then it's ensuring that you don't step out of that frequency, meaning you don't drop out of that frequency, because they need you to build a bridge. I am doubtless when it comes to what I believe in. All right. So if you have a droplet of doubt in you, that droplet of doubt is going to taint or tarnish your frequency. And then your signal is going to start to get scattered. And you're going to reach all kinds of things, all kinds of people, right? Another thing that can happen is you already know what you want, but then you get signaled by someone else and you get derailed. So you swerve off course. That happens all the time. My friend Mikey and I call it layovers. Like when you travel, when you fly, you're not taking a direct flight, you have a bunch of layovers. So we want to start moving away, weaning from this idea of layovers, because the layovers can take a really long time to manifest the results that you want. But if you stay focused and you are committal to what it is that you wholeheartedly desire in your heart, right? Then there will be no distractions that can veer you off course. But I want you guys to really get the visual impression through this transmission. when you are desirous of something, whatever you're feeling in that moment is you linking to another being who is longing for you. And so for me, it would look something like this with the Arcturians. I am wanting to connect with them in physical form. I'm already connected to them multidimensionally. Now I wanted to arrive into my solid reality. I wanted to concretize, and I believe it will. All right. But this is something else they were explaining to me. They were explaining to me that there is a collective agreement that has been made by humans where things happen when they're meant to happen. In other words, thank you, Judith, I see you. In other words, and I used this example earlier today, like I always turn my eyes purple, like a crystal electrifying purple when I meditate, and I can feel the changes in my DNA. But the thing is, if other humans aren't ready to be subject to that, then the collective won't see what I'm doing energetically. But we are very powerful beings when it comes to what we can manipulate energetically. You know, I work with a lot of holographic technology as well. So when I go on my walks at night and there are people walking by me, I will turn myself into a giant orb floating by them, and I can see myself through their lens. And I know it's happening. And the guides say to me, it's very important to do that because it further anchors or it further cements that reality for a future date. It's kind of like grid working, if that makes sense. It's kind of like grid working. But when someone else sees it, even if it's subconsciously or subliminally, it anchors it in more and more and more. So you're planting seeds, if you will, for that garden to eventually grow. So we are the ones paving the way for all of these extraterrestrial contacts to happen. And look, the key is to not have an attachment, to not shackle yourself to whether it happens or not. Because the second that you have an attachment to the outward manifestation, you're compromised. You're compromised. But the Arcturian said that if they don't show up, if they don't make themselves visible to you, that's still a positive thing because your desire is only going to augment and amplify and magnify, which is going to cause you to reach further and further and push yourself. Not push yourself in a human third dimensional way, but really push the envelope of what you're capable of doing galactically and cosmically and energetically. So we have these vibrational superpowers, but we just have to put them to work. We just have to put them to good use. Now, why is it that some people don't materialize what it is that they're wanting? Because they're doing the layovers, okay? So for instance, you know what you want, and then someone comes into your life and they derail you. You lose sight of the grand picture of what you yourself were longing for. And so you drop out of that frequency, and whoever it is that you were dialing in the cosmos can't hear you anymore because the signal has dropped. So it's spotty, for lack of better words. It's spotty. The connection is spotty. What you want to do, though, is believe in it so much and work with that energy every single day from inside. You're not doing it for it to manifest outside. You're doing it because you can sense that you're expanding more and more and more and more. And you're gleaning all of these amazing details through those inner communications. And you don't have an attachment to whether or not it arrives because you're doing it for the journey, not for the destination. But I hear so many people say to me all the time, but I've been single all of my life. I still don't get it. Like that's because they're still judging their personal experience. And so any judgment you have about your personal experience, about your personal walk, is going to distort your signal. You're scattering your signal. What you want to do is pack it in. You want to compress that energy and build that bridge. But it's interesting. The Arcturians didn't say it was a bridge. They said that your belief, like when you really pump it up, pump it up, pump it up, you're literally generating these portals in the multiverse. And it allows other beings to travel through these wormholes or travel through these interdimensional portals, or it allows other humans that you're wanting to have a relationship with to find you. It's like a portal. And I saw it as like these portals ripping open in the sky, in the universe. It was so powerful. And that's why it's a multiverse. They even said to me that some of the lovers that you have might be from a parallel reality. But because you're wanting them so badly and they're wanting you so badly, you actually start to defy the laws of this construct of time. Think of how powerful that is. Because there's such an internal calling or an internal asking, and they have it so much too, that you guys literally find a way to travel through portals and find each other. All right. So I just love the visual because to me, it's so vivid in my mind. And the key, again, is to not drop out. Now, there are going to be times where you drop out. I'll give you an example. You hatch a business idea, right? Hatch, boop. I got a business idea. And for some reason, it doesn't stick. That could be because someone else was dialing the phone and you were on the receiving end, but it wasn't for you. It was for someone else. And so even though you got excited and you got ecstatic and enthusiastic, that particular idea wasn't necessarily birthed for you. And it can also go the other way around, where you have an idea of what you want, and then you meet a guy or you meet a girl, and you think that they're ticking all your boxes, and you equate them to what you've been desiring, and they're not it. What happens is you start to fabricate all these ideas or all these plot lines, and you fit them into that mold. You literally force fit them into what you've been conceptualizing and imagining and visualizing. So it's a very subtle game. Very subtle game, because you have to make sure that your energy, that your waters are clean. And now I'm going to dovetail into the next subject. The Arcturians were saying that right now we're prepping for 2021. And a lot of your deeply solidified patterns, meaning your unconscious patterning, is going to rear its swollen head. I mean, I've had a very crazy week this week trying to maneuver it all. And there were lots of peaks and lots of valleys. There were lots of ups and lots of downs. I feel like there was a massive purge I went through this week where old historical stories were rearing their swollen head. And I was like screaming them out of my system. And I'll share with you just a very personal story of what happened to me this week. I started noticing that I have a pattern of always going back to friends who were never really healthy for me. But because I loved them so dearly and so profoundly and so unconditionally, I would always convince myself, well, if I try to rehash things or repatch things, maybe they'll be ready this time. But I never really noticed my pattern, but it became so clear to me that I was trying to put toothpaste back into a tube. And you can't put toothpaste back into a tube, you know? And then my friend Mikey called me on it. He's like, Phil, you have a propensity to always go back to people. And I went into my shower. This was a few days ago. And all of a sudden it dawned on me. oh my God, like literally OMG with 10,000 exclamation points in my shower. And I get this huge download trickle into my mind of pre-awakening, where when I was in the music industry, you guys, I mean, this was a huge eye-opening moment for me. When I was in the music industry, when I was young, I would work with these different record labels or different music producers or managers, and I knew they weren't the right fit for me. And a year or two later, I would go back to them thinking, oh, maybe we can make it work this time. And my whole life, this pattern has been hidden from me. And you can have really deeply embedded, deeply ingrained patterns in your blind spot, and you're completely unknowing of them. And that's precisely what happened to me. And in that moment, it's like this huge light cast upon this pattern that was hidden from my view my whole life. And I felt the clearing. And my guide said to me, they're like, you cleared it, meaning you shined a light on it. That was your job, to shine your light of awareness on this pattern that was deeply reinforced and deeply solidified within your system. But this whole week, you're now going to purge it out, you know? And it was really violent this week, I have to say, because I became aware of this pattern, and my cage was rattled. But I was really happy and very proud of myself for not taking Mikey's constructive feedback personally and get defensive, and actually sit with it and mull over it for a while. And then it was quickly revealed to me, yeah, you've had this pattern your whole life. So I can feel right now that I've freed up so much storage in my biological computer, in my phone, if you will. I've freed up so much storage that was probably feeding off of me. You know, these unconscious patterns, they harvest your energy. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that it served me for as long as it did, and I'm ready to move on now. And my guide said to me, you've just freed up like 40% of the storage in your body, in your mind. I mean, I'm over the moon because I really feel like this is going to take me to the next level. So the Arcturians were saying to me tonight that from now all the way to January, there are a lot of people, and I've noticed this week, a lot of people who are feeling very insecure. And insecurity leads to sensitivity. So a lot of people are feeling insecure and they're feeling highly sensitive. So what's going to happen? And it was really interesting how they explained this to me. They said that when someone projects their stuff on you, and I did that this week as well to my family, it wasn't cool, but I did it. You know what I mean? I make mistakes too. Whenever you project what's going on with you, like an insecurity, that is a telltale sign that the person is still holding on to one of those patterns, refusing to change, refusing to let it go. But the thing is, they may not even be cognizant of the fact that they have this pattern. They may have no clue whatsoever that they're running this very unconscious pattern. And so the guides were saying it's important for you to zero in on when someone says something to you. Like today it happened to me, right? A friend of mine at the gym was like, so I feel like you do this more than that. And I'm like, no, I do everything equally. And they're like, yeah, so what are you going to do tomorrow at the gym? And what are you going to do the day after that? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't plan it, but I can tell you I work it all proportionally. But I sensed right away that it had nothing to do with me. It was just a deeply embedded pattern that's in their blind spot. By the way, they didn't mean any harm when they said that. This person has no evil bone in their body, but it came from something that they're dealing with or have no clue that they're dealing with, that is still very alive in their system. And so there was a part of me when I left the gym that was like, what was that about? Like, why were they poking their nose in my business like that? And then my guides chimed in and they said, Phil, let it go, right? Because in the past, I would go back to the past. And this is a perfect example. Someone says something to me, that's out of line, or I could tell they're projecting their crap onto me. And I'm really cool in the moment, but then it hits me after that. I'm like, what was that about? And then I go back to them and I say, yo, dude, why were you picking on me? Or why were you? So that's been my pattern, is I either speak my truth on the spot, or I don't say anything and I walk away like blindsided, like what the hell just happened, right? And my guide said, let it go. Because people's sensitivities, people's insecurities right now are going to be overly accentuated. That's because there's been a spike in the energy field and the emotions are running high and everyone's having to confront their own stuff. It's a reckoning meaning coming face to face with yourself and atoning for what you've done, or finally neutralizing these patterns that cause you to polarize, that cause you to be compromised. So my guide said to me, let it go, let it go, let it go. Because we're clearing out of your system this old pattern of yours where you always want to go back, whether it be with friends or when someone says something to you and you go back and you're like, dude, that wasn't cool. You know? And they said, if you meet people at that level, you're only going to muddy up your own waters. So we need to really clean our waters right now. And this is something else they said to me, which I absolutely love. They said, Phil, your waters are going to be cleaner than ever. Because before you had clean waters, but you didn't know that you still had this pattern in you. Now that you've illuminated this dark corner in your internal system, and you can now uproot this energy, it's already being uprooted for me and through me. That's the thing. To heal, all you have to do is bring awareness to something. That's all. Once you shine that flashlight on it, it's done. But then you just have to make sure not to regress and be tempted to act on that old pattern. And that's what I'm dealing with right now. I'm dealing with, and I did it yesterday with my family. I'm like, oh, I can't let this go, right? But sometimes, and we had a huge argument. That's okay. They love me and I love them. But sometimes you might find yourself acting on it just to see, like, is this for real happening? Is this really happening? And you just want that final confirmation. Like, yes, you need to let it go. This is not healthy. So I did something yesterday that wasn't really healthy, but it was a confirmation or a validation that it's like, yeah, Phil, this doesn't lead to good stuff. It doesn't lead to anything great. So let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. So we're all being asked right now to just let it go and cleanse your waters. Make sure, and by the way, this is all going to link into the message about love and your desires and manifesting and calling in these different realities, which is really cool. If you continually cloud your frequency by means of acting on this disharmonious or this discordant energy, then you're only going to muddy your waters and it's going to preclude you from manifesting what you desire. Remember, no layovers. You want to have a direct flight in first class. You don't want to make pit stops. You don't want to have 3 layovers. You don't want the long flight. You want the short, swift, hasty travel. Yes, and to make it pleasant. So, with regard to what you're feeling right now, because I'm telling you guys, everyone's feeling sensitive. Everyone. Because the universe is bringing up all of these unresolved, unprocessed, untransmuted frequencies for all of us. No one is spared. No one is spared. I go through as much crap as you guys, right? And I wouldn't have it any other way because I want to walk alongside all of you. Do I know how to maybe have a little less drama? Yeah, I do. But guess what? I like to get messy because it allows me to study all the patterns, my own patterns, which aren't really our own patterns. They're just different patterns that have been embedded on this planet for a really long time. But I do it. I get messy on purpose because I want to further understand how these patterns work. And when I go into that war zone, or I go into that mud and I'm trudging through the mud, I have the Arcturians who have the knowledge that I may not have when I'm in it. And they can guide me back. But I do it on purpose because I'm like a scientist. I'm like a scientist. I see everything from every angle. And I'm like, ooh, let's collect data. Oh, yeah, this is wonderful. Cool. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, yeah, perfect. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, that's great. And if I didn't go through it with you guys, then I wouldn't be able to understand these emotions that run deep, and the pain and the sorrow and the aloneness. Like, I want to feel all of it. And to be honest with you, even if I didn't, it probably happened anyways, because the contrast never ends. You know, the more that your light grows, the more you're going to be a target. And this is something else the Arcturian said to me today. They said, Phil, the reason why you always get picked on, I'm telling you, I always get picked on everywhere I go. It could be a stranger, it could be a friend, it doesn't matter. I'm always a target. And I don't want to sound like a victim right now because I'm not. But they explained this so well. They said that because I've already lit up every department in my department store, so I'm abundant financially, and I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, but I am. I do really well financially. If I didn't have that Christmas tree light turned on, then I wouldn't be a threat to people, right? But when you start to illuminate all the different pockets of frequency within your system, without even having to say anything, people feel inferior to you. And that's the story of my life, right? I speak with conviction. I know what I'm worth. I know that I can tap into really ancient wisdom. I'm financially abundant. I know I look okay. I know I'm pretty fit. So sometimes people want things like, oh, I want to have a fit body, or I want to make money, but more money, more problems. Remember Biggie said that? More money, more problems. It's not about the money. It's about energy. More energy, more problems. But they're not problems. What it is, it's a deepening and a quickening of your consciousness. But you're never going to be exempt from that being a target. You just won't be. Because think about it, without words, when you know that you're financially abundant, without even having to think about it, you hold a different frequency. If someone is afraid of money, or if they're competitive, without you saying anything, you're transmitting a signal, they're going to feel threatened by you. If you're someone who likes to communicate and you don't have any qualms about talking about anything, no matter how uncomfortable it is, if someone's not a good communicator, without you saying anything, they're going to feel threatened by you. Because every department in your Macy's is lit up. So obviously you're going to be more of a trigger for people. So you're never going to be spared from that. But the wonderful thing about this is that you get to deepen your relationship with spirit. You get to go higher and higher and higher and higher. You get to keep going higher and higher and higher. So yes, there are a lot of people right now who don't understand why they have to say something to you, but it's because there's a deeply held insecurity that they haven't attended to, and they're going to project it on you. Okay. This is something else the Arcturian said to me that I didn't expect at all. It was unanticipated. They said that for you, right, linking back into the whole dialing your phone and calling in what you want with sheer clarity, they said that whenever you start to call people from your past, or whenever you feel tempted to reach out to someone, that's you projecting. Because in that moment, you're feeling insecure, feeling you're missing something. And so your phone call to that person is you projecting. So I've never heard that before, this kind of message. but I thought it was really, really interesting, very enlightening. And remember, if you do that, you're going to thwart your own growth. You're actually going to delay what's trying to be delivered to your house by the universe. So I should probably wrap up soon. This is what I wanted to say about 2021. More ET contact, because there are more people desiring to connect with ETs. And so we're creating these portals for them to travel through, and vice versa. It's both. And 2021 is going to be the year for love. It's the year for love. Okay, so a lot of you are going to be newly partnered in 2021, so lots to be excited about. But remember, there are entities, if you will, thought forms, that want to hold sway over you, that want to get you to swerve off course by getting you to attribute what you're feeling to people, places, and things that you once knew. That's the biggest trapping system of the ego, by the way. I love you, Judith. Thank you. And thank you, Kimberkiss. That's the biggest trapping system. Your ego only knows what it knows. So it's always going to reference people, places, and things that you once knew, that you once had a connection with. And your ego, or these darker forces, are going to utilize that to derail you. I want you to stop feeding into and indulging things that steal your peace. If it steals your peace, stay away from it. Let that be our new mantra. If it steals your peace, stay away from it. It doesn't mean that the person's a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that the situation at hand is that it distorts your frequency. It pops you out of your center. It pops you out of your alignment. And when you do that, go off track, meaning you stop communicating with the very thing that you're desiring or the other being telepathically, and they don't know where to find you. You're undiscoverable. You're untrackable. You're unreachable. So this is a time to really stay in your lane, to decipher what's coming in, and if it's serving you, if it's commensurate with the frequency that you want to bring to life. And you know how you can know if it's not for you? If you don't try and it just naturally falls away. That's how you know. That's how you know. Or if you get like a sticky, icky feeling. That's how you know. But trust me when I tell you, when you believe, you guys, you are building the bridge. When you believe without a droplet of doubt, there is no interference. The signal isn't spotty, and what you're desiring will converge with you. It's an inner convergence. It happens inside first, okay? And then it travels through that portal to then find you in physical form. This is a time to believe. They said to me today, this is a quote from the Arcturians, the degree to which you believe is going to determine what you receive. The degree to which you believe is going to determine what you receive. So pay attention to where it is that you're still doubting yourself. Pay attention to what you're still doubting that could happen to you. Because if there's any doubt there in the mix, then guess what? You've got an ingredient that you're allergic to. And it's not going to go over too well when you swallow it. Okay? It's not. It's going to inflame your ego, meaning it's going to end up in disaster. Yes? You're going to end up with the wrong person. It's going to be inflammatory to both of you, to only eventually realize you're not the right match. This is all about vibrational match. This is about authentic desires. the ones that last, the ones that hold longevity, not the phase, I'm going through a phase where I desire to be a singer and you don't really want to stick with it. That's not going to get you anything in life. It's okay for the purpose of exploring, of interacting like that scientist with different energies, but it's not going to yield the result that you're wanting. What's going to yield the result you're wanting is persistence, perseverance, and consistence. You have to be consistent. Perseverance, what did I say? Persistence and consistence. And you need resilience. Let's add that fourth one, because without resilience, you're going to be tossed around like a salad by everyone who approaches you. And remember, when you turn your light up, you're going to become more magnetic. You're going to be more lured in or potentially lured in. That's the other thing. They were saying allure, the word allure. Okay, so in these sensitive times, in these vulnerable times, in these highly emotional times, you have to make sure not to get lured into what has allure. Because you're going to be more magnetic the more that your light shines. You can't avoid that in this reality. What you can do is work on your resilience, on your persistence, on all of that I just mentioned. Okay? And stick to the program, stick to protocol. Don't allow yourself to be swayed. You have to be unwielding in what you want, okay? So I love you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you would like to donate, my website is feelgoodlife.com/donate. feelgoodlife.com/donate. I hope that this helped you. I hope that it assisted you in any way or supported you or uplifted you. And again, thank you to everyone who subscribed. I'm going to attach a link below in case you'd like to go to my website, and I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.